18 months after our first WGN Investigates report on questionable spending by South Suburban politician Tiffany Henyard, it appears she has been forced off the ballot.
Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard, who was appointed to that position tonight, lost her bid for the Democratic Party's nomination in this rare...
Tiffany Henyard, known for her bold personality and self-proclaimed title of Supermayor, is fiercely fighting to maintain her hold on power in Thornton Township and Dolton, Illinois. Currently entangled in a news scandal, she faces allegations of election tampering, voter suppression, and multiple lawsuits after being excluded from the Democratic ballot for township supervisor. The fallout has been explosive, with accusations flying from all sides. Is this the story of a political leader fighting for justice? Or a desperate attempt to cling to power amidst growing opposition and controversy? The situation continues to unfold, with escalating tension.
7 minutes, that's all it took for Tiffany Henyard to be out as the Democratic nominee for Thornton Township Supervisor, and she left here visibly upset.
Napoleon Harris, a state senator and township Democratic committeeman, made a decision that sent shock waves through local politics, sparking unprecedented drama for the first time in over 3 decades. Harris opted to hold a caucus instead of a primary election to determine which candidates would appear on the ballot. This move was widely interpreted as a strategic effort to block Tiffany Henyard's path to the nomination. Critics and supporters alike speculated that the caucus was carefully orchestrated to tip the scales against Henyard. Their suspicions appeared to be confirmed when her name was notably absent from the Democratic ballot for the upcoming election. The primary reason cited for her disqualification was her slate's failure to include a certified assessor, a technicality that allowed Harris to dismiss her candidacy outright. Harris and his slate of candidates capitalized on this oversight, securing dominance in the caucus and ultimately claiming the coveted Democratic nomination for the April election. This decision dealt a significant blow to Henyard and sparked heated debates within the community about fairness, procedural integrity, and Harris's motivations for choosing a caucus over a traditional primary process. Some viewed the decision as a legitimate use of procedural tools to uphold the standards of candidacy, while others decried it as a calculated power grab aimed at marginalizing Tiffany Henyard's influence and derailing her political ambitions. The fallout from this decision reverberated far beyond the caucus hall, igniting fierce debates among residents and party members over the legitimacy of the process and its implications for local democracy amid accusations of political sabotage. Henyard and her supporters argued passionately that Harris's actions were a clear attempt to undermine her leadership and consolidate control over the political system for his own agenda. Harris and his allies, however, defended their actions, asserting that the caucus was conducted in accordance with Democratic Party rules and was a necessary step to restore order and credibility to local government. As emotions ran high, this contentious episode not only reshaped the electoral landscape, but also deepened divisions within the already polarized community, leaving lingering questions about the balance of power and accountability in local politics. Henyard's response to her disqualification was explosive, marking a dramatic escalation in an already highly charged political saga. Tensions peaked when Henyard, visibly furious, stormed out of the caucus meeting, hurling sharp accusations at Harris and his allies. She charged them with orchestrating a deliberate campaign to silence her voice and manipulate the political system for their own benefit. Tiffany Henyard accused Harris and his allies of orchestrating a coup to sabotage her political career, declaring, "This is election rigging at its finest." She lambasted the process as illegal and a blatant effort to undermine her candidacy while disenfranchising her supporters. Henyard called the caucus a farce, specifically designed to eliminate her from the race and suppress the will of her constituents. She framed Harris's actions as a calculated, undemocratic power grab that made a mockery of the electoral process. This sentiment strongly resonated with her base, who viewed her exclusion from the ballot as a gross injustice. Henyard didn't stop at words. She made it clear she would not take the alleged slight lying down. In fiery speeches and interviews, she announced her intention to pursue legal action against those involved in what she described as a blatant violation of democratic principles. Her vow to sue became a rallying cry for her supporters, further amplifying the controversy and deepening the division within the community. For Henyard, this wasn't just a personal affront, it was a battle for her political survival. She portrayed the situation as a crusade against a corrupt system, determined to undermine the will of the people. Her fiery rhetoric and unwavering determination energized her supporters, even as critics accused her of prioritizing self-preservation over serving the community. The legal battles she promised to initiate threatened to plunge the township into further turmoil, potentially delaying progress on pressing community issues. Still, Henyard insisted that these fights were necessary to uphold the principles of fairness and justice. Her speeches continued to stoke controversy, ensuring she remained at the center of attention. To some, she was a fearless leader standing up to a rigged system. To others, she was an opportunist unwilling to take responsibility for her campaign's shortcomings. Public opinion was sharply divided, with some seeing Henyard as a victim of political manipulation, while others viewed her as someone attempting to manipulate the system for personal gain. The disqualification and her subsequent actions left the community deeply polarized, and the political landscape in turmoil. Outbursts became central to the unfolding election drama. Critics argued that Tiffany Henyard's removal from the ballot was justified, citing her failure to meet basic requirements, such as including a certified assessor on her slate. On the other hand, Henyard's supporters viewed the move as a tactical maneuver by Harris to consolidate power and silence opposition to his political agenda. Regardless of perspective, Henyard's ardent defiance only strengthened her resolve, positioning her as a champion of democracy in the eyes of her supporters. Her determination to fight back resonated with many who felt disenfranchised by the political system. However, it also deepened divisions within the community as the election approached. With emotions running high, the focus had shifted from the specifics of Henyard's candidacy to broader questions of fairness, integrity, and the nature of political power. Harris's allies maintained that the caucus was conducted fairly, but to many, the episode appeared to be a high-stakes power struggle for control over the future of local governance. As tensions escalated, Henyard's legal maneuvers and fiery rhetoric ensured that she would not fade quietly into the background. The stakes were clear. Her political future, reputation, and standing within the community were all on the line. Whether her legal battles would restore her to the race or further alienate her critics remained uncertain. What was clear, however, was that Henyard's explosive reaction to her disqualification had transformed the local election into a high-stakes political showdown. The saga raised crucial questions about fairness, power, and democracy in local politics. It underscored Henyard's refusal to back down and her determination to challenge the status quo at any cost. As the situation continues to unfold, it is evident that this dramatic chapter in Henyard's career will remain a defining moment in the township's political history. Whether it leads to her political resurrection or her downfall is yet to be seen. But one thing is certain: this battle is far from over, and its outcome will likely shape the community's future for years to come.
Because they can't, if they could beat me, they would have went to the polls. But now when I bring the people out, you don't let them.
The caucus, held at the Homewood Flossmoor Park District Auditorium, descended into chaos, becoming a flashpoint for accusations of ballot suppression and questionable practices that cast a shadow over what was meant to be a pivotal moment for determining the political future of Thornton Township. Instead of serving as a democratic process, the event became a contentious and polarizing spectacle. Tiffany Henyard, who has emerged as the central figure in this drama, claims the chaos began well before the event officially started. She alleges that hundreds of her supporters were forced to wait outside in freezing temperatures, barred from entering, and denied their rightful participation. Many of these supporters, including elderly individuals whom Henyard had personally arranged transportation for via a fleet of buses, had traveled long distances to attend. According to Henyard, the buses carrying seniors and other community members arrived slightly late, but instead of being accommodated or allowed entry, they were turned away at the doors. She argues that these seniors were effectively excluded from the process, left stranded outside in the cold, while Harris and his slate quickly took control of the proceedings inside. Henyard described the entry restrictions as draconian, claiming that even those who managed to approach the venue were met with stringent limitations, including being allowed to enter only 2 at a time. He criticized these measures as a deliberate attempt to suppress turnout and manipulate the outcome of the caucus. Inside the building, the atmosphere was no less contentious. Reports from Henyard's camp depict a rushed, highly orchestrated meeting that lasted only 7 minutes, during which Napoleon Harris and his allies swiftly nominated themselves to the Democratic ticket and adjourned the proceedings. Henyard argues that this brief and tightly controlled session was deliberately designed to minimize transparency and preclude any meaningful debate or opposition. The speed and manner in which the meeting unfolded only further fueled suspicions of misconduct. Henyard's allegations that the caucus was a sham, designed to shut her and her supporters out, have only gained momentum. She describes the event as a travesty of democratic principles, pointing to voter disenfranchisement and backdoor dealings that prioritized power over fairness. The image of so many supporters, allegedly left standing outside in the cold while crucial decisions were made inside, became a central point of her criticism. Henyard frames the caucus as part of a broader effort to rig the election and silence the voices of her constituents. Critics of Henyard, however, dismiss her allegations as exaggerated and self-serving, arguing that logistical issues and procedural rules, rather than malicious intent, were to blame for the chaotic events. Despite this, Henyard's account, marked by accusations of disenfranchisement, rushed decisions, and exclusionary practices, has resonated with many in her community, intensifying public outcry over what transpired that day. The fallout from the event has further deepened the political divide within Thornton Township, leaving voters polarized and raising serious questions about the integrity of the process. For Henyard and her supporters, the caucus represents not just a personal setback, but a broader assault on democratic norms and community representation, one they insist cannot go unchallenged. Whether viewed as a fight for justice or a calculated political maneuver, the events of the caucus have left an indelible mark on the township's political landscape. The supporters of Tiffany Henyard have unleashed a storm of criticism against Napoleon Harris, accusing him of orchestrating the caucus to advance his own agenda and secure an uncontested path to political dominance. Keith Price, a staunch ally of Henyard, called the event the most flagrant scam he had ever witnessed, alleging that hundreds of eligible participants were unjustly excluded. Price argued that this exclusion was no accident, but a deliberate tactic to undermine Henyard's supporters and ensure Harris's slate prevailed unchallenged. This sense of disenfranchisement is echoed by Henyard's camp, who claimed the process was riddled with irregularities designed to sideline opposing voices. Election lawyer Carrie Kraftheffer further bolstered these accusations with an analysis of the caucus that uncovered significant procedural violations. Kraftheffer pointed out that organizers failed to collect signed affidavits from participants, a critical safeguard intended to verify voter eligibility and protect the integrity of the election. She also highlighted other irregularities that undermined the transparency and fairness expected in a democratic process. These revelations amplified Henriette's camp's claims that the caucus was deliberately structured to silence dissent and disenfranchise her supporters. Critics argue that by bypassing these safeguards, The organizers prioritized consolidating power over ensuring a legitimate outcome. Rice's passionate denunciation and Kraft Heffer's expert critique have only intensified the outrage, with Henyard's backers framing the incident as a glaring example of systemic corruption. For many, it exemplifies how entrenched interests can manipulate the rules to their advantage, leaving ordinary citizens disillusioned with the electoral process. Henyard's supporters view this as more than an attack on their candidate. They see it as a broader assault on democratic principles. The frustration, anger, and sense of injustice have ignited their determination to challenge what they view as an egregious subversion of fairness. In their eyes, the caucus symbolizes a broken system in need of reform, further fueling their resolve to hold the organizers accountable and push for a more equitable political framework.